Well, it is a delight to welcome back to 100 Huntley Street our friend Jon Acuff. This is his brand new New York Times best-selling book. It's called Do Over. It's about having the courage to take a look at what you're doing in your life and look at other things, perhaps to break out and try something new and to have the courage and the determination to do it. But there are some essential ingredients, Jon, that you need. Let's recap. We ended our last time together talking about 4 essential things that are needed to help you build up an account in your life to go forward in your career.
Certainly.
What are they?
They're called the career savings account. And it's relationships plus skills plus character times hustle. And you need all 4. If you only have 3 of the 4, the whole thing falls apart. Let's say you're amazing at relationships, amazing at skills, amazing at character, but you don't have any hustle. You become every NFL draft bust that was really good with natural talent in high school and college, but it fell apart when everybody else had the same talent. Or let's say you're great at skills, character, and hustle, but you don't have relationships. You become the emperor with new clothing, and no one can tell you the truth. And we've all worked for people like that, where you had to tell them a lie in the boardroom, or in the break room. That's a terrible idea. And leaders who can't be questioned end up doing questionable things.
Yeah, insecure leaders sabotage relationships, that's for sure. What do you say about key areas to develop relationships? Let's start with that. It's about people and engaging other people.
Yeah, well, there's 2 kind of spectrums. There's what I call boomerang relationships, and those are the casual relationships you have with people you work with, where they go off into the distance. You don't know when they're going to come back, but you want them to come back in a good way. So I talk about never burn bridges. It's a small industry. In between takes, you and I listed off 15 people we both knew.
That's right.
Whatever industry you're in, I promise you it's small. So maintain those relationships, even if they're casual. And the other end of the spectrum is what I call advocates. Those people in your life that are 10 years ahead of you that can say, hey, there's some potholes you're headed to. Or when I was your age, I thought these 10 things mattered. They don't. Only these 2 do. And so if you want to know where you're going, have an advocate who's 10 years ahead. If you want to know where culture's going, be connected to somebody 10 years younger than you. I have to talk to people that are early 20s because they're growing up in a different space. And if I don't, I become a dinosaur.
You spoke to some folks in the community and some of our team members early this morning. And you talked about that in life you'll discover the surprise that when something goes wrong, you do find out who your friends are, and sometimes you're surprised those that you thought would be your friends don't show up, and those that maybe you didn't know cared suddenly are trying to help you in all kinds of ways. So
and
can you unpack that? Because that's a relationships thing.
Sure, when you go, if you want to figure out who your friends are, go through a negative, unexpected moment. And what you learn is the people you thought would run to that moment sometimes disappear. People you didn't know knew you existed show up to lock arms with you. And what happens is in a bump moment, in a career bump, 2 things happen. You either break out or you break down. For some people, rock bottom is a trampoline, and it launches them to their next thing. And that's based on the strength of your relationships. And relationships are why money shows up in the mailbox anonymously. Nobody ever says, I love Kyle, he's a great coder, he's a great developer, I'll put some money in there. They go, no, I'm in a relationship with Kyle and we're gonna get through this moment together. And so it's really when you go through a bump moment that you're glad you have strong relationships.
All right, Big John, let's talk about skills. You do a great job here. I think it's page 109, and I fashionably dog-eared it. You're here and you're talking about different skills, and I think it's so good. You list just practically, if people could just get some of these skills that you talk about here, I don't understand why some people just don't get it. You talk about the importance of just relating to people, things like exceed expectations. Do you mind if I just read your book for a moment? Be diplomatic, express gratefulness, show consideration of others. Duh, but people just, they miss it. You see it. They're clueless.
Well, and if we all got these, you wouldn't have problems with the people you work with. I mean, one of the leading causes of people losing their jobs is absenteeism. And it feels really silly to me in a book to say, hey, here's a brand new idea. Show up to work on time, stay the entire time, and work really hard. And nobody's going to tweet that and go, at Jon Acuff, blew my mind. He told me to show up to work when they're paying me to show up to work. Who knew? But yet we still struggle with stuff like that.
Focus on what matters. Play to your strengths and everyone else's strengths.
Well, and a little example of that is you should never plan a creative meeting at 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. Everybody is dead. They're drained creatively. There's all these studies about willpower and creativity that it gets exhausted throughout the day.
Because thank God it's Friday. In their culture, they're checking out the weekend warrior time.
To put that together for somebody else and go, it's so weird we didn't have a good meeting at 5 o'clock on Friday. No, it's not weird.
All right,
at all.
all right.
It's not even a little weird.
Jon, be flexible.
Well, and that's one of those things. There's little flexibilities you see that happen with people. One of my favorites is where people get into diplomatic fights about parking spaces. Or they'll say, I love when people tell me, who is my boss to tell me when to do my lunch hour? Actually, she's 100% of the people that get to tell you when to move your lunch hour because she's 100% of the people
paying
that pay
you.
your salary.
That's right.
It's not, who is this person? I know who it is.
Complete disconnect
They're
from
writing
reality.
a check. Be flexible.
So your advice on being flexible in the work office space is unless there's a live cobra in my office, I'll be all right.
Well, and that's where people go, the lights are too dim, they're too bright, I want a better chair, like this mouse isn't good. I once had a job where they gave us a chocolate bar and an iPod mini for doing a good job, and it was orange, and a girl I worked with said, oh, I hate this color. And I was like, we got a free iPod mini. It could be brown, and we should be like, yay! Let's be a little flexible.
All right, so respect their gear. Now, what's that all about?
When my company gives me a phone, I don't now own a phone. That's that company's phone. And so
really?
I can't put my own apps on there. I can't look at whatever I want to do on there. That's their gear. Same with their laptop.
Shocking.
I know. I'm blowing people's mind. Canada, around to Canada right now. People are taking notes.
That's right. Yeah, it's touching the Vatican. It's gone to.
I don't like to use the phrase "changing lives,"
White House.
but changing lives.
All right, and then another one is continue your education. Never stop learning.
Never stop learning. I was at a job once and I felt stuck, and we talk about skills. Skills get you unstuck, so I signed up for every leadership program that company offered, even if it didn't apply to me, because one, I wanted to learn, and two, I wanted them to know I was all in.
Let's talk about character. I told my kids this years ago. I said, skills and good interviewing ability, relationship skills can get you a job, but character keeps you on that job.
Anybody can nail an interview.
Yeah, and some people date better than they are when they get married. Some people interview better than when they're employed.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's character that is the foundation of any relationship to be successful. Unpack a little bit about character.
Well, and character is that secret sauce where somebody goes, I don't know why, but put Johnson on that project. I can't put my finger on it, but what they're talking about is character.
It's the intangible.
It's the intangible, and sometimes we miss it because we're so busy as a culture, we run right over people, and we win things that don't matter. My favorite example is in Alpharetta, we went to a cool hipster hamburger joint.
This is suburban Atlanta.
Suburban Atlanta, the kind of place that puts kale on a hamburger for some reason.
I know.
And so there's 8 of us in my party and only 12 people in the restaurant. We ran out of chips for our dip, bad chip to dip management on our part.
Yeah.
We said to the waiter, can we have some more chips? And he said, let me talk to the cook. And I thought, this is not going well. And he came back, he said, you can't have more chips unless you buy another round of appetizers. And he made 8 people have a bad experience. We never went back. No. Do you think at the end of the night, the cook and the waiters get together and count their chip savings? Save 52 cents in chips today. Of course not, but they won something that didn't matter, and they lost sight of the people they were serving.
That's right.
So character is seeing who you're really serving. It's being present. It's empathy, which is understanding what someone needs and acting on it. So there's all these little things that if you want a long-term career, because I'm not telling you a book that's going to take you 3 days and change your entire life. I'm saying let's talk about your career, that 40 years. Let's make those magic. All
right, John, let's talk then about hustle. That's the 4th element here, and that means get after it.
Yeah, and it means get after it in the right way. Hustle has a bad name right now on the internet because really obnoxious people make it sound like an Axe body spray flavor, where it's every day I'm hustling, and they're just obnoxious. And so what I tell people is hustle is an act of focus, not frenzy. It's not about becoming a workaholic. It's not about avoiding your family.
It's not about running over people.
It's not about running over people. That's why you need those 4 things. Relationships temper your hustle.
And character.
And character, and it all comes together. But it's about learning what to say yes to and what to say no to. Hustle is a scalpel. So you look at your week and go, I need to cut these things out so I can really hustle and focus on these.
Okay. So there's a focus element there.
Focus element.
All right. So let's talk about something as we're finishing up here. And again, this is just a terrific book. It's Do-Over by Jon Acuff, New York Times bestselling author, and this book itself has just reached the New York Times bestseller list. You illustrate about an overnight carry bag. You travel hundreds of thousands of miles a year as a speaker. And
I make sure to do it on different airlines so I don't accumulate any status on it. Which very smart.
But that could be like another book.
Yeah,
maybe how to get that together. But you talk about the importance of learning from the trips you take, the packing. So, and then you tie it into your career and the things that the book represents. Yeah. Let's talk about that overnight bag that you take time and time again and the lessons learned from it.
Yeah, so the idea there is that the first time should be the worst time. The first time you try something should be the hardest time you've ever done it because you've never done it before. And every time you should get incrementally better. So what was foolish on my end was packing the same way essentially 50 times in a row and never making a list. So I would act like it was new every time and it would take me an hour. So eventually I sat down and said, this is dumb. Why don't I pay the hour right now, come up with the list, and then pack in 10 minutes every time going forward? So that's what happens with people. We have an experience. We never stop to learn from it. So the next experience feels new too, and we just keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again.
And in the business of life, we tend to be less reflective, right?
There's no time for reflection.
Yeah.
I've moved on. I'm tweeting about reflection. I'm too busy.
But that's kind of fast there. Sorry about that. With our live studio audience here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that was
right.
for you,
Yes,
Sheila.
that's right. There you go. There you go. So what happens, though, we continue then to make the same mistakes over
and
on
are surprised.
our jobs, and then we wonder how in this world happened to us when it happens time and time again. So if a person is unsuccessful in developing relationships with people, they should take time to look and see what's going wrong here. But what's happening is they're doing the same thing relationally over and over and over again.
They're just repeating it again and again, and they're not stopping. And it takes some ownership. It takes some responsibility. Some of the relationships I've lost were because I didn't pour real time into them.
Right.
I'm like a lot of people. I got busy. I had a friend say, I like texting because it's more efficient than phone calls. And I agree, but I don't know that relationships are designed to be efficient. I think they're meant to be messy and meant to be real and honest.
Right,
and so
right.
you have to stop long enough to go, wow, I lost these 7 relationships in a similar way each time. I'm going to lose the next 7 if I don't change something.
What's next for you?
Next for me is touring around with the book.
Yeah.
I'll start working on another book probably this fall.
Any ideas of what those books,
Just
book or books
awesome.
will be like?
It's going to be awesome.
Just amazing?
Yeah,
just like the best book ever written?
Yeah, I mean,
it's a book on humility?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's about Jesus and staying humble, but also we'll have my picture on the cover.
Well, I wrote the book Humility and How I Attained It.
Oh, good, yeah.
And it is not a New York Times best-selling author.
People don't like humility.
Yeah.
You'd have to spin it. You have to say 7 steps to easy humility tomorrow.
This is Jon Acuff. There is only one Jon Acuff, and when God created him, he threw away the mold. What fun he is, and this has tremendous content. It's a wonderful resource for you. Whatever age you are, you may be middle-aged or you may be just going into the workplace out of university or high school. This is something you need to get. It'll give you courage and it'll give you some tools to be able to be more effective in your relationship with others, to develop your character, and as well get some good skill sets that will make you even more successful. This is a good buy. It's available in our e-store as well as online and bookstores all over North America. Jon Acuff, come back and see us, would you?
Thanks for having me. I sure will.
Good to see you.